Hi, everybody. How are you today? Okay, so the title on this live is The Clues That Elvis Gave His Friends and His Family Members. All right, so I have a bunch of different clues. So I'm going to start and then we can discuss this. All right, so when I read the other day, I'm going to reread this part out of The Truth About Elvis Aaron Presley in His Own Words. This was written by Dr. Hinton and Jesse Elvis, and he wrote these letters to the doctor, writing this book. It wasn't supposed to come out till after he died, but doctor convinced him to put it out in 2002. So there is quite a few more years left that he could have written more about. But anyway, he said, I will start about 1974 when the thought first came to me about faking my death. I have always been fascinated with the occult and other spiritual things. And when I first saw the wax dummy for myself made by Mr. Cooper, I was fascinated by it. For some time, I thought if it was possible, could I pull this thing off? I had asked Mr. Cooper if he could make another wax dummy for me. He said he could. I in turn said I wanted him to do it and keep it strictly confidential. And when I had mentioned it to a very few close friends, Joe Esposito and Larry Geller, they did not think I was serious. I was tired of being Elvis Presley. My health was deteriorating and I could not keep up. And he also said his finances were floundering because of his daddy's poor business ventures and he was at his wits' end. So he had told many people that he was tired of being Elvis Presley. So the first person I'm going to pull out is Wanda Jun Hills. We remember Elvis. Now, Wanda Jun Hill has been a friend of his since 1960 something. During his movies, he worked. I think he was doing the Double Trouble, I believe, the movies when she first met him. And she wasn't really a big fan of his music. She was just basically working, and somehow she ended up assigned to him to do some things, and they strung up a friendship. And since then, they were friends until beyond he passed. After he passed, so he said, and these are taped telephone calls that he approved at the time. And this is, let's see, this comment is from, I believe, 1976. I believe, yes. Okay. So she asked him how his health was and so on, because she said it, that he was concerned about his health. He had a diabetes tendency, a blistery rash, um, his kidneys, high blood pressure, a colon problem. Um, and so um, she wanted to know how that was working out. So he basically said that, yeah, it causes kind of problem. When we ain't going to get into that. I feel okay. It's kind of strict list of things that I'm not supposed to eat anymore and sticking to it. And he's heavy and he needs to go on a diet. Of course, that's what he's saying. And then he says somewhere down here, he basically breaks out, he swells up, and he says, just like to have some peace and quiet inside me, you know? I'm just so tired of being Elvis Presley. Wearing me out, keeping things going, man. Gonna be hell facing things, camera and all that. too vain. He's too vain. So maybe to learn that lesson, just would like to look better, but can't seem to make it happen anymore. Shouldn't matter, but it does a lot sometimes. I hate to see him looking at me that way. Just want to tell him to F off. Now I still care, but uh I don't know how to put it in words really. So basically he's telling her, he's overweight. He's tired of people after him lose weight to get healthy. He's tired of being the image of Elvis Presley. It's wearing him out. It's killing him. And he also had dealt with a colon problem and he needed surgery. And he kind of told her about that in this book. But we're not talking about that today. All right. So I have another conversation. This is from the Elvis files. The person that Elvis called, Ellen Foster. This was a tape conversation, August 14th, 1977, the date of his mother's anniversary of her death. So Ellen says, hello. Elvis says, love, is that you? Ellen, why, Elvis? How are you? How have you been? He says, I feel fine, love. You know, I was thinking of you today. Ellen, I think of you every day, Elvis. Are you taking care of yourself? Elvis said, yes, but that's not why I'm calling. Ellen said, well, what's the matter, Elvis? Elvis, nothing. You know. Do you know how happy you've made me, love? Oh, Elvis, Ellen says, no, no. You know, today my mama had been dead for 19 years, 19 long years. And Elvis starts to weep. Ellen says, calm down, Elvis, calm down. Your mother's probably watching you now. You wouldn't want, she wouldn't want you to cry. Elvis said, I can't help it. I sometimes wonder if I caused her death. Oh, Ellen said, no, you didn't, Elvis. Your mother had a bad heart. She was overweight. Elvis, yeah, she was drinking a lot because of me. Ellen said, don't blame yourself for that, Elvis. Don't carry that cross. Elvis said, I can't help it. I started making so much money. I started showering her with gifts and diamond rings. You know, I gave you one that belonged to her, the one that I gave to my mother back in 1955. Cars, Cadillacs. I bought her this big, beautiful home. I thought I was doing right for her, but she couldn't handle it. She still hung the wash outside, fed the chickens outside. We're living on 13 acres, and my mom is chasing chickens around the backyard. I never should have taken her away from her roots. I never should have. It wasn't fair to her. She felt compelled to impress me, trying to lose weight. And then, when she had a tough time with that, she started to drink. She became depressed, and it's all my fault. It's all my fault. So, Mama, please forgive me. Ellen says, Elvis, don't go blaming yourself. Don't go blaming yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. Every boy wishes that he could rise to fame and riches that provide for his parents. There's nothing wrong with that, Elvis. What was meant to be was, and that's all. So, Elvis, are you getting excited about your next tour? It's just 2 days away. I'd love to see you. Elvis, still sniffling. Yeah, that's why I called you, love. I can you. We're talking in confidence. We always do. You're just like my mother. You're just like my mother to me. I shouldn't even say that. I trust you so much. Elvis, Elvis, I love you like you were my son. You know that. What is it, Elvis? Elvis said, I'm not going on that tour, Ellen. I'm not going on that tour. Ellen said, you canceled it, Elvis? What's the matter? Don't you feel good? I think I never felt better, love, and I'm just not going on that tour. All right, so he's repeated it 4 or 5 times to her. All right, we're getting into the gist. Well, why'd you cancel it, Elvis? I didn't cancel it, love. Elvis, maybe I didn't understand you. You're not going on tour, but you didn't cancel the tour. Is that what you just said? Elvis said, that's right, love. I'm not going on tour and I haven't canceled it. Well, when are you canceling it? I'm not. Ellen, I don't understand. Elvis, listen to me, love. Listen to me real close. You're not to tell a soul. Ellen, I won't tell anybody anything. Elvis, I'm not going on my last tour and I'm not going to cancel it. Don't ask me any more questions. Just remember one thing. And what's that, Elvis? I'll always, I'll always be here. I'll always be here. Don't believe what you read. Do you understand, love? Elvis, that sounds scary. Nah, it's not. Are you in trouble, Elvis? No, no, nothing I can explain. No, nothing really. No, no. I'm not in any trouble. As a matter of fact, my troubles are all ending. Just remember, I love you very much, and I'll always be here, and I'll talk to you again. When, Elvis? Oh, I don't know. But one day, I'll give you a call and let you know. I've got your number. I'll always have it with me. I love you, love. I love you too, Elvis. Goodbye. Goodbye, Elvis. 2 days before August 16th, he has told his friend that he's not going on tour and that he's going to call her and his troubles will be all ending. I mean, that's just an indicator right there that he planned this out. He didn't really die. Well, the man didn't die. The image died, but the man didn't die. All right. And I'm sure he did call her, and I'm not sure how he liked this being in this book. But like I said, this book was printed in let me see, 1990. So that's quite a few years, you know, beyond. Right. So he mentioned Larry Geller in his book. So I'm just going to give you a little hint or a clue here of what he was telling Larry Geller. Now, this might be a little long. This is from If I Can Dream. And he does mention If I Can Dream in his book, too, that he had written. He had allowed Larry Geller to write it. Ooh, that's bright. Anyway, sorry for the lighting, but okay. So this was dated, let's see, I can tell you the date. April 22nd, 1977. Now, Elvis tended to talk to his male friends differently than he talked to women friends. So we just had two examples of women friends here. So now we're going to hear him talk to a male friend. He always talked different to the men than he did to the women. And so it's really confusing. Like when we have telephone calls, one is to a woman, one is to a man. He tells this woman one thing, but he tells the man another thing. But which one do you really believe? You can't really, like make a decision. Like, especially about like Priscilla or something like that. So it's kind of hard. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So he just got out. He went to the hotel room after his tour, his show, and let me see. I want to know where I want to start. Okay, so Elvis was talking to Larry, And he said he bent over to open his suitcase and took some of his pills. Now, these are prescription pills that he has to take for his colon and everything. And before he put them in his mouth, he made a point telling me that they were for his stomach. You know, he said, everyone thinks that I'm just plain fat. They don't understand that it's fluid. My intestines don't function right. I've got that spastic colon. Between that, my glaucoma, and all the rest, it's a miracle I'm still in one piece. Lawrence, he said as he walked up to me, to where I stood and placed a hand on my shoulder, I need your help. We have a mission, and if you know you're behind me all the way, we can accomplish it. But I need to know if you're with me. What is it? I'm sure I'm with you, although I'm not sure what you're getting at. Elvis says, the world's changing rapidly. He began surveying the room and then stared into my eyes. And this is only the beginning. Drastic changes are what is in store for this world, and millions of people will be turning in the future for guidance. I know it's all been said in many different ways, but using my name and influence, let's write a book and explain the best way we know about the spiritual world, the path. I'll even reveal my conversation and initiation in the desert when I had my vision. And he actually had like a vision from God, from Jesus. If we go into my secret spiritual life and all the experiences and others and ours together, people all over the world will be led to God. Not by preaching or all the stuff that turned me off to churchianity, thank God, Elvis laughed. But the world knows Elvis. This was Larry talking. I resumed seriously. Elvis the image. They have to know me, the real person. Oh, maybe no, this is Elvis still speaking. Sorry. So, Elvis the image. They have to know me, the real person, and that's where you come in. It's our special mission together. Larry, something big is going to happen soon. I know. I'm not sure when, but I feel it in my bones. I'm dreaming a lot of things. Some we'll go into later, but something's going to happen. And then Larry says, you have my word. I said, and we shook hands. And from that point on, Elvis assumed a different tenure. And although he wouldn't say, let's put this down in a book, he spoke of things he wanted included. The idea of writing such a personal book seemed to grant him even greater freedom to delve into his past and the meaning of his life. Most of the things he spoke of he told me years before what he wanted that was in the book. So that's one area. All right. So the first thing he's saying is that, I'm going to serve God. I'm serving God, and I'm teaching people God, but not through preaching. So this is what he says over here. Let me see. And he was talking about Priscilla and how she hated his religion stuff. She gets bored with it and all that kind of stuff. But there was more. He was talking about how his mom and Priscilla were both sevens, but his mother was more spiritual than Priscilla, and Priscilla wasn't as spiritual, but he's looking at numerology here, right? But anyway, so this is what Elvis says. That is my very life, my God given right to love and search for God, to serve God. That's what everyone is born for, to find out who they are, to get closer to God. You remember when we first got started? That's was the number one burning question inside me and still is. Why am I Elvis? Why am I picked to be Elvis Presley? To be in the position I am in and to have the kind of ministry I have? What ministry do you mean? And this is Larry asking. And then Elvis says, my fans. That's it. I'm not an evangelist. I'm an entertainer. That's how God has used me to get the message across. Not by preaching, but using the universal language of music. I couldn't go out there and preach. That's not my calling. I would confuse the hell out of my fans. All these years that you and I have spent together praying, healing, meditating, and studying the greatest books of the world has known were, what's that word? Eclectic. So, then he went down further and he's saying, I thank God for it. I'm the first to admit I'm imperfect. I've done things I'm not proud of. I've got a long way to go. We all do. But we're all on Jacob's ladder somewhere. And like it says in the Bible, as though I have a gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. God is love, and that's what it's all about. He says, my mother's middle name was Love. So anyway, what he's saying here is he would never be a preacher because that's not his calling. He would never be an evangelist. His calling was to sing and teach people about God through his songs. Now, a lot of people, I think, had followed Elvis as an idol and actually idolized him and called him king and all that. But Elvis hated that. And he hated being referenced to as a god and being idolized. And he used to say, I'm not the king, I'm an entertainer. Jesus is king, the king of all kings. So, and he was worthy of praise and he was worthy of honor and so on. So there's two more accounts and then I'm gonna be done. Okay. So the other account was I had mentioned this and I think in one of my other videos from like last month. I gotta find it now. Let out. And find it now. Okay. So now we're gonna go into Gene Smith. Gene Smith was Elvis's closest first cousin. Billy Smith was very close to him as well, so I have one excerpt from Billy Smith as well. Okay. So Gene Smith, there's a couple of quotes I'm going to do. So this is from Gene Smith's book, Elvis Man Friday. It's dated 1994 and written by Gene Smith. And Gene died. I don't remember the dates, but he's gone. But anyway, he has this. And I'm going to go into another book about this very similar account. They'll give you more information about if Elvis is still alive. Okay. One night in early August 1977, Elvis called and invited us over, and Louise and I drove over to Graceland for a short visit, and I could see that Elvis could no longer see himself. The right moment occurred during the usual hubbub for Elvis to take me off to one side. And with a deep, rasping tiredness in his voice, he half whispered, "'Cause you don't know how lucky you are to be living the kind of life you're living. You think I'm putting you on, but I'm not. I can't go anywhere. I can't go to the bathroom without three tailgaters. I'll give all this up and lead a normal life and have my wife and family and a good job I could take pride in and provide for my family. I miss Scylla. I miss what we could have had if things hadn't gone out of hand. I don't know if I could have done any different. This is the quote. I'm so tired of being Elvis Presley. Okay. So he told Wanda Jun Hills that he was tired of being Elvis Presley. He told another guy. All right. So now I gotta look up this guy. Give me a second. All right. So this is from an article from oops, by Bob Stanley. In the early 70s, Presley's record label RCA released an album of unreleased outtakes called The Legendary Performer. When it outsold his new album of maudlin country ballads, this singer must have felt he had begun to lose the battle with his own myth. Trapped inside Graceland, the Memphis mansion that was his half home, half prison, and humble country boy who had done more than anyone to invent teen culture, grew overweight and suffered severe depression, and the outside world, though he was still the ultimate superstar and invincible king of rock and roll. 18 months before he died, Elvis told his producer, Felton Jarvis, I'm so tired of being Elvis Presley. That was 1976. He originally planned to um do that, but he chickened out in 1976. He ended up doing it in 1977, according to Linda Hood Sigmund. Okay, so that's the other one. Now, Billy Smith. Oh, no, I was going to do the other one. Excuse me. So I'm going to keep on with Gene Smith for a minute. And I'm going to tell you, there is a new book out. Deborah Presley-Brando has a new book out. And she kind of discusses some of this topic. So I'm going to use it and I'm going to tell you the name of the book. And if you guys really want to read it, you can. It's kind of eye opening. She is Elvis's first illegitimate child, and she was born before he hit it big. Okay, before he signed on with the Colonel. And it was hidden. Okay, so no one knew but the immediate family. Okay, about her. Okay, so I'm going to do the best I can. All right. So this is Deborah speaking to Jean. And this let's see, do you have the date on there? 1988, I believe, around there. 88, 89. Gail told me that my father is alive and in some elite federal program that hides federal agents that overstep their boundaries and end up in mortal danger. He's right, Jean said. Deborah, do you believe he is alive? I said, without thinking, yes, Jean, I do. I have too many credible people telling me roughly the same facts. Deborah, I want you to listen to me. I nodded my head as I was shaking my hand with his. 8 days before he died, he supposedly died. He called me and told me and Louise to come over. This is the same account here, so must have been more involved. Okay. He said he had something he needed to tell me. Deborah, he only ever called me over if it is urgent, death or life, serious. He went on, Deborah. That casket was so heavy we could barely carry it. There was an air conditioner under it, and we heard it running. Not to mention, I pushed the side burn back into place in the wax dummy and the copper casket. I am not the quiet type the way that I once was, but I listened to my cousin. I could not find words. Jean was confirming all I sensed based on what I was hearing and feeling, and listened and fought back tears, and I listened to hear but I listened, and Deborah, he took me into the kitchen and sat me down and looked me right in the eye. And let's see, oops, I'm missing something. And he said, Jean, I have to leave. I have to go away. You may not see me for a long time, maybe never again. Jean's voice broke, but he quickly composed himself, and I looked away and I listened, unable to look into his blue eyes for fear of losing my composure too. And he said, Deborah, he helped me put away some Vegas kingpins that were giving cocaine to Billy and David, his stepbrothers, from Vernon's marriage to Dee. He was scared. He didn't know what else to do. He felt that our country was taken down by other countries by targeting our youth with street drugs, cocaine, and heroin. It was his it was personal for him. That's why he went to Nixon and got the DEA badge in 1970 to help fight illegal drugs in America. Someone broke into his home and cut off the head of Lisa's teddy bear, placed it on the table on a platter with a note. This could be your daughter's head. These bad guys had leased his plane from Vernon, and they refused to give it back. And that involved federal investigation. Your dad had always been interested in law enforcement, and now he had real reason to involve feds. After all, he was one. Now, Antonio, I think, was her private investigator. But anyway, so that is what Jean told Deborah. All right, about Elvis. And it's true. He wasn't the DEA agent, and he did do the drugs thing, and he had a hit out on his life. So he had to fake his death. But there was another reason why, other than this, and that was, well, spiritual reasons, health reasons, and everything else. All right. So the last, let's see if I can pull it up. And the last reading I'm just going to do is out of that one. Hold on. Out of Alanna Nash's book, Elvis and the Memphis Mafia. And it's a story about how he did it in it. Billy Smith had told the story. Okay. All right. So Billy Smith said, we were talking and carrying on one day, and he was in a good mood, and one his joke pulling moods, and he said, you know something, at the time I had plastic surgery, another guy was there having plastic surgery too, and I wasn't following him. So I said, who's that? The guy told me he was terminally ill, and for the right amount he was going to swap places with Elvis. I asked him from where he was from, and he said up north. Why would you want to do this? You got a family? He said. Yeah, I've got a family. I do it to get the money for them. I didn't believe any of it. So I asked, let me ask you this. How is Elvis going to get away from here? He said. Oh, he's met this woman, and he has, or who? Oh, okay. So I skipped over. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got the wrong page. Anyway. I'll just tell you the rest. So he met the man, and he was having plastic surgery, I think on his chin. And he met this man who was terminally ill. And the man wanted to swap places. He was glad to swap places with him so Elvis could live a normal life. And so of course Billy says, "Well, how are you going to do that? Then we can't have two Elvis Presleys, you know?" He goes, "Where would you go? How would you have two Elvis Presleys? People would think you're travelingest person ever was." "Oh, I get secluded somewhere," Elvis said, "and they wouldn't know where I was." And then a few days later, Elvis had someone call Billy early in the morning about it. And this is where he says, "I'm terminally ill. I need the money to help my family," because he had a couple daughters and all that stuff. And I believe his name was Scott Holloway. That's what they named him in here. On a video that we watched another way, he called him Roscoe, but I think he was just trying to protect his name. Anyway, so he said he's gonna go away with Maria, and she goes, "I don't know a Maria." And then he said, so for a few minutes more, he got bored with the conversation, and he said, "Well, I'm just gonna go ask Elvis. This is true." So Elvis went, carried it right on down the line, and he said, "Man, I'm telling you now, that's what I want to do. I'm tired of living like this." He said, "Mind you, though, I'm going to take most of my money with me." And I said, "In other words, you're not going to give up a lot." He said, "Well, I am giving up a lot. I'm giving up being Elvis Presley." And this was dated in 1975. And he thought he was kidding when he really wasn't. All right. So I think that's all I got today. So now we know he said in his book that he was tired of being Elvis Presley. And we have a bunch of different accounts here of them all either saying he was tired of being Elvis Presley, tired of the image, and some of his reasons why he would stage his death. What do you guys think? Do you guys really think he staged his death? Hmm. Well, if Deborah Presley-Brando, who just got a new book out, stated in her book that her cousin Jean told her this stuff about her father and in 1988, then would she make this up? Honestly? Do you think she would make this up? There's fireworks going off. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to pull up her cover here for her book. It's called Memoirs of a Starseed Child. Okay? Elvis, Marlon, Christian, and Me by Deborah Presley-Brando. She's had an interesting life, very, very, very rough life. All right. But this is available if anybody's interested. It's available in ebook form. It's available in regular book form. You can get it on her website. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Apple Books, I believe. You could all, or if not Apple Books, Amazon Unlimited. That's where I'm reading it. Very eye-opening. I'm not done reading it yet, but I thought I would just put that in there because it was kind of interesting how it goes along with this. And it's almost the same exact setup, except of course I think he elaborated a little bit more to Deborah because she's family and this was in the book. That and because he knows that you know, this came out like shortly after he told Deborah this. And of course, she has approval from her father to actually write that book and put that in there. She had approval, I guess, from him. She had to. I don't think she would lie. But anyway, I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying this. You find this interesting. If you haven't subscribed yet, or if you want to send this to other people to watch, you may. I will, in the description at the bottom, I will put a link to Linda Hood Sigmund's site that will give you more information about Jesse Elvis. She had DNA done, handwriting samples, all kinds of information on that site. It's huge. And I will also put my Facebook group link on there in the description. So if you guys are on Facebook and want to join the group page to get more information or even different posts than this, you'll find us on Facebook. And excuse me. Until next time, talk later. God bless you all. Have a happy Easter and a great night. Bye.